They tell you that in the corporate world, you need thick skin. They tell you that feedback is a gift. But they don't tell you what to do when feedback is just a corporate word for public execution. I spent 8 years building a reputation as the guy who gets things done. It took my manager exactly 3 minutes to dismantle it in front of the entire executive board. He didn't use profanity. He didn't scream. He used a smile and a PowerPoint slide. I walked out of that room with 2 options: swallow my pride and keep my salary, or burn the bridge and keep my dignity. I chose the fire. Let's analyze the players. I am a 39-year-old senior project manager at a tech firm in Seattle. I'm the guy in the background. I manage the timelines, I fight the vendors, I fix the code that the sales team promised, but engineering didn't build. My performance reviews were boringly perfect. Reliable. Steady. The fixer. Then there was Brian. Brian was hired externally as the new director of operations. He was younger than me. He wore better suits. He used buzzwords like synergy and paradigm shift unironically. Brian didn't know how our product worked. I realized that in our first one-on-one. He didn't know the difference between a server and a database. But Brian had a talent. He knew how to manage up. He was charming to the VPs and invisible when actual work needed to be done. For 6 months, I covered for him. When he missed a deadline, I stayed late to fix the report. When he didn't understand a technical question in a meeting, I chimed in to add context, saving him from looking like an idiot. I thought I was being a loyal deputy. I didn't realize I was just making myself a threat. Because in Brian's world, competence wasn't an asset. It was competition. The humiliation didn't start with a bang. It started with friction. It started with Sarah, a junior analyst. Sarah was brilliant. She found an error in Brian's budget forecast. Instead of thanking her, Brian waited for the weekly team stand-up. In front of 10 people, he asked her, "Sarah, I noticed you spent a lot of time on this spreadsheet. Is that why your other tickets are lagging? Maybe you should focus on your actual job description before trying to audit mine." Sarah turned red. She stopped speaking up in meetings. 6 weeks later, she quit. Brian called it trimming the fat. Then he turned his focus to me. He started CCing my skip-level boss on emails where he asked vague, impossible questions. He would schedule meetings at 5:30 p.m. on Fridays, then cancel them at 5:25 p.m. He was testing the fence. He was seeing how much he could push before I snapped. I didn't snap. I documented. I kept a folder. The Brian folder. Timestamps, screenshots. I thought logic and evidence would protect me. I was naive. In a street fight, nobody cares if you follow the rules of boxing. The climax happened during the Q3 strategic review. This wasn't a team huddle. This was the big leagues. The VP of engineering, the CFO, the head of product. 12 people whose salaries combined could buy a small island. We were presenting the migration project, a $4 million initiative. I had done the work. I built the deck. But Brian insisted on presenting it. "I'll handle the narrative," he said. We got to slide 14, the risk assessment. There was a delay on the vendor side, a 3-week slip. This delay had been approved by Brian 3 weeks ago. I had the email. But looking at the room, Brian sensed the CFO was annoyed by the timeline. Brian needed a scapegoat. He stopped clicking. He turned slowly to look at me at the end of the table. He smiled, that corporate, shark-like smile. He said, "You know, I've been asking for clarity on this vendor issue for a month. Dave, do you want to explain to the CFO why you failed to escalate this risk? Or did you just forget to manage your project?" The room went dead silent. The air conditioning sounded like a jet engine. I opened my mouth. "Brian, we discussed this on the 12th. You signed off on the extension because the vendor offered a discount." Brian didn't flinch. He laughed. A short, dismissive chuckle. "Dave, let's not make excuses in front of leadership. It looks weak. If the project is too complex for you, just say so. We can find someone else to drive the bus." The CFO looked at his watch. The VP looked at her phone. Nobody said, "Wait, did he approve it?" Brian had successfully framed me as incompetent to save his own skin. The meeting ended. I walked back to my desk. My hands were shaking. Not from fear, from adrenaline. A colleague, Mike, walked past my cubicle. Mike had been there for 10 years. He saw everything. He leaned in and whispered, "Man, that was brutal. He really threw you under the bus." "Don't worry, everyone knows he's a jerk." I looked at Mike. "If everyone knows," I said, "why didn't anyone say anything?" Mike shrugged. "It's politics, Dave. Keep your head down. It'll blow over." It will blow over. That's the mantra of the coward. I realized then that the company wasn't just broken because of Brian. It was broken because of Mike, because of HR, because of the VPs who looked at their phones while a loyal employee was gutted for sport. Staying meant accepting that this was my value. I went home. I poured a drink. I looked at my bank account. I had savings. I had the FU money fund. I opened my laptop. I didn't write a manifesto. I didn't write a tearful goodbye. I wrote 2 sentences. Effective immediately, I am resigning from my position. My badge is on the desk. I hit send at 2 a.m. The next morning, my phone exploded. Brian called. Then he texted, "Dave, let's talk. You're overreacting. It was just a tough meeting. Don't be emotional." Emotional. I didn't reply. I blocked his number. I heard later from Mike that the migration project collapsed 2 weeks after I left. Brian couldn't answer the technical questions. The vendor walked away. Brian was quietly moved to another department, but his reputation never recovered. He needed me to look good, and I took that away. I'm working somewhere else now. They respect my time. They respect my work. But sometimes, late at night, I wonder, should I have stayed and fought? Should I have gone to HR with my folder of evidence and tried to take him down? Or was walking away and letting him fail on his own the ultimate punishment? I bring the case to the chamber. Did I let a bully win by quitting? Or is self-respect the only victory that matters? What is your verdict?